Alright, the microphone should be on, but then the sound is off. I don't know why I said that. Alright, anyways, I hope everyone is doing well. Let's get started. I'm kind of late, really behind schedule. If I can, I'm gonna try to work out at least two today, maybe three. We'll see. I'm really behind. I gotta sleep early. I just want to share this thing. Actually, no, I shouldn't. Alright, never mind. just remembered you can put it down like this. Let me see if this is going to be any different. Put it vertically instead of horizontally. falling asleep, so let me just wake up real quick. Oh my god. Sorry, give me 1 second. Let me just give me one second. let me read this quote and um, tell me what you guys think. And I'll first share what I think. So this is the quote. I have a friend who's an artist, and he sometimes takes a view which I don't agree with. He'll hold up a flower and say, "Look how beautiful it is," and I'll agree. But then he'll say, "I, as an artist, can see how beautiful a flower is, but you, as a scientist, take it all apart and it becomes dull." I think he's kind of nutty. First of all, the beauty that he sees is available to other people, and to me too, I believe. Although I might not be quite as refined aesthetically as he is, I can appreciate the beauty of a flower, but at the same time, I see much more in the flower than he sees. I can imagine the cells inside, which also have a beauty. There's beauty not just at the dimension of 1 centimeter. There's also beauty at a smaller dimension. I think this is fantastic. But hmm, it's I think this is exactly um what the artist means. Um, his friend, the scientist, or excuse me, the main narrator, the main narrator or first person, he it sounds like he's taking it apart, right? He sees so much more. He's magnifying it 1 centimeter, you know, dimension. It's all very mathematics, science related terminologies. But then the artist who works, God knows what artists really think about. And this is the thing. I don't. He's, obviously it's a friend. So I think this is. So I think what the artist is implying is the beauty of one being, because one being makes up the entire thing, right? Um, I wouldn't say if it's complete. Let's say a flower petal that has a few of some of its parts missing, but you didn't know, or you don't know if it went missing, or there was an issue with nutrition that just didn't fully expand to that one area. I don't know, but it's natural. Um, but you don't know if it's natural, and you don't know if it's intentionally made like that. So this is where this is what I want to say ultimately. I think beauty or anything is truly subjective, and in my opinion, what the friend said about it becoming dull is not necessary. It's not it's not the same thing as he sees things more aesthetically. How can I explain this? uh, I don't think the artist meant when he said that scientists don't um, when the flower is taken apart, when they take out the flowers and label specific parts and what they do, what makes it harmonious, what causes it to be alive, or because um, I feel like a lot of science has to do with reasoning, finding the purpose, finding um, parts that contribute to to this existence, to the existence of not only the being that you are labeling or figuring out, but what effect it has on its surroundings, etc. But then, once that is done, so you kind of fail to recognize that there is no need for labeling. Just one being on its own. That thing that takes up the space, the thing that takes up that space that's there, um, is beautiful, quote unquote. So I don't think it was necessarily devaluing um, the main uh, the first person, um, the person who is a scientist, and that was a very long and very incoherent babbling. I hope some of it kind of made sense what I was trying to say. Um, so I don't think the friend is saying that he doesn't, the scientist doesn't see things beautifully. I think he's talking about the process that scientists um, unconsciously proceed with. I don't know if that made sense. I'm not too confident. Holy shit, it's freezing. I'll be right back. wonder how he feels. So I'm reading the book that I'm reading right now is what do you care what other people think? Um, it's about Richard Feynman, and this sentence says, "I've been caught, so to speak, like someone who was given something wonderful when he was a child, and he's always looking for it again. I'm always looking like a child. Excuse me. For the wonders I know, I'm going to excuse me. Maybe not every time, but every once in a while. So what I'm wondering is, I wonder how he felt when he couldn't find something intriguing. Because when you're constantly looking for something, there's bound to be disappointment. Because if you're expecting something great, you're bound to be disappointed, or you're bound to be. Actually, yeah, no, I'm not. I'm gonna stay on that. You're bound to find very uninteresting things. That's obviously it's expected if you are discovering. You're not always gonna find something great, or it's not always gonna be a mild experience. There's going to be something that's fairly terrible. It's gonna leave a bad taste in your mouth. I wonder what he. I wonder how he looked. So my question is, I wonder how he looked at situations like that when something um was not to his um taste, if he had that. Or I guess if you are searching something like a child is looking for something, then I guess you don't feel that. I don't know. Around that time, my cousin who was 3 years older was in high school. He was having considerable difficulty with his algebra, so a tutor would come. I was allowed to sit in a corner while the tutor would try to teach my cousin algebra. I'd hear, I'd hear, I'd hear him talking about X. I said to my cousin, "What are you trying to do?" I tried to find out what X is. Like in 2x plus 7 equals 15. I said, "You mean 4? You mean 4? Yeah, but you did it by arithmetic. You have to do it by algebra." I learned algebra, fortunately, not by going to school, but by finding my aunt's old schoolbook in the attic, and understanding that the whole idea was to find out what X is. It doesn't make any difference how you do it. For me, there was no such thing as doing it by arithmetic or doing it by algebra. Doing it by algebra was a set of rules which, if you followed them blindly, could produce the answer. Subtract 7 from both sides. If you have a multiplier, divide both sides by the multiplier, and so on. A series of steps by which you could get the answer even if you didn't understand what you were trying to do. The rules had been invented so that the children who have to study algebra can all pass it. And that's why my cousin was never able to do algebra. There was a series of math books in our local library which started out with arithmetic for the practical man, and then came algebra for the practical man, and then trigonometry for the practical man. I learned trigonometry from that, but I soon forgot it again because I didn't understand it very well. When I was about 13, the library was going to get calculus for the practical man. By this time, I knew from reading the encyclopedia that calculus was an important and interesting subject, and I ought to learn it. When I finally saw the calculus book at my library, I was very excited. I went to the librarian to check it out, but she looked at me and said, "You're just a child. What are you taking this book out for?" It was one of the few times in my life I was uncomfortable, and I lied. I said it was for my father. I took the book home and I began to learn calculus from it. I thought it was relatively simple and straightforward. My father started to read it, but he found it confusing and he couldn't understand it. So I tried to explain calculus to him. I didn't know he was so limited, and it bothered me a little bit. It was the first time I realized that I had learned more in some sense than he. One of the things that my father taught me, besides physics, whether it's correct or not, was a disrespect for certain kinds of things. For example, when I was a little boy and he would sit me on his knee, he'd show me the Rotogravres. What is this? Rotogravres? The printing system using a rotary press with intaglio cylinders. I don't know what the fuck that is. I gotta read it. In the New York Times, that's printed pictures. Oh, that's printed pictures, which had just come out in the newspapers. One time we were looking at a picture of the Pope and everybody bowing in front of him. Bowing in front of him. My father said, "Now look at those humans. There's one human standing there, and all these others are bowing in front of him. Bowing in front of him. Not bowing, excuse me. Now, what's the difference? This one is the Pope." He hated the Pope anyway. He said, "This difference is the hat he's wearing. If it was a general, it was a epaulets. And how do you pronounce that? Epaulet. It was the epaulets. It was the epaulets. If it was a general, it was the epaulets. If it was a general, it was the epaulets. It was always the costume, the uniform, the position. But, he said, this man has the same problems as everybody else. He eats dinner, he goes to the bathroom, he's a human being." By the way, my father was in the uniform business, so he knew what the difference is in a man with the uniform off and the uniform on. It was the same person for him. He was happy with me, I believe. Once, though, when I came back from MIT, I'd been there for a few years, he said to me, "Now that you've become educated about these things, there's one question I've always had that I've never understood very well." I asked him what it was. He said, "I understand that when an atom makes a transition from one state to another, it emits a particle of light called a photon." "That's right," I said. He says, "Is the photon in the atom ahead of time?" "No, there's no photon beforehand." Well, he says, "Where does it come from then? How does it come out?" I try to explain it to him. The photon numbers aren't conserved. They're just created by the motion of the electron. But I couldn't explain it very well. I said, "Well, it's like the sound that I'm making now. It wasn't in me before. It's not like my little boy who suddenly announced one day, when he was very young, that he could no longer say a certain word. The word turned out to be cat, because his word bag had run out of the word. There's no word bag that makes you use up the words, words as they come out. In the same sense, there's no photon bag in an atom." Damn, I have no idea what the heck that conversation means. Is the photon in the atom ahead of its... no, excuse me. Is the photon in the atom ahead of time? I don't know what that means. Although my mother didn't know anything about science, she had a great influence on me as well. In particular, she had a wonderful sense of humor, and I learned from her that the highest forms of understanding we can achieve are laughter and human compassion. Wow. When I was a young fellow, about 13, I'd somehow gotten in with a group of guys who were a little older than I was and more sophisticated. They knew a lot of different girls and would go out with them, often to the beach. One time when we were at the beach, most of the guys had gone out had gone out on some jetty with the girls. I was interested in a particular girl. I can't read. I was interested in a particular girl a little bit, and sort of thought out loud, "Gee, I think I'd like to take Barbara to the movies." That's all I had to say, and the guy next to me gets all excited. He runs out onto the rocks and finds her. He pushes her back, all the while saying in a loud voice, "Feynman has something he wants to say to you, Barbara." It was most embarrassing. Pretty soon the guys are all standing around me saying, "Well, say it, Feynman." So I invited her to the movies. It was my first date. I went home and told my mother about it. She gave me all kinds of advice on how to do this, and that. For example, if we take the bus, I'm supposed to get off the bus first and offer Barbara my hand. Aw, that's sweet. Or if we have to walk on the street, if we have to walk in the street, I'm supposed to walk on the outside. She even told me what kinds of things to say. She was handing down a cultural tradition to me. The women teach their sons how to treat the next generation of women well. That's nice. Damn, that's cool. You know, I really wish I started reading 15 years ago when I was still very. I just really wish my depression didn't happen when I was a teenager. So sad. At least, I mean, it's not too late, but fuck me. Like, goddamn. Like, damn, I don't know. I hate the feeling of, like, well, better late than never. I just hate that. I mean, yeah, it's great that I feel it now, but at the same time, like, let's say that one has about 10 years to live, and they discover something just immensely wonderful. Actually, what the fuck am I saying? Alright, never mind. I'm too tired. Yeah, I gotta. Yeah, I'm really tired. I think I'm gonna sleep very soon after uploading this. I'll see you guys later. Bye.